You will not talk to me like that.
I am talking to you exactly how you deserve to be spoken to.
No, you are not. You will not deny us this loan. I have every right to deny you.
When a black woman walks into a downtown bank to withdraw $250,000, the manager suspects fraud, freezes her account, and calls security, unaware that she is Amara Johnson, the CEO and majority owner of the very bank he works for. What follows is a tense, cinematic drama: the humiliation of being doubted, the silent complicity of a young teller, the cruelty of procedure used as a weapon, and the piercing truth when Amara finally declares, "I own this bank." Phones record as the crowd witnesses systemic racism unravel live. The board is called, the manager stammers, the employees tremble, and the customers rally behind her. Through painful confrontation, public exposure, and poetic justice, Whitmore, the arrogant manager, loses everything, while Amara turns the moment into a movement, forcing both her institution and the world to face the bias hidden in plain sight, from betrayal to resistance, from silence to reckoning. This story rips open the wounds of racism and ends with the powerful reminder that survival, spoken aloud, becomes revolution. The marble floor gleamed under the morning sun pouring through the wide glass doors. The downtown branch of First Dominion Bank looked like a cathedral of money: polished wood counters, brass railings, a chandelier dangling above as though wealth itself needed worship. Through those doors walked Amara Johnson, 6-inch heels striking with a rhythm of assurance. Her navy suit was tailored perfection, her silk blouse crisp, her diamond earrings subtle but undeniable. She carried herself not as a visitor, but as someone who belonged. Yet the moment she approached the counter, the glass smile greeted her. "Good morning, ma'am," said the young teller. Kelsey, blonde hair, neatly tied, pearl earrings glinting, her smile wide but brittle, like it might crack if Amara asked too much. "How can I help you today?" Amara returned the smile with one warmer, deeper. "I'd like to make a withdrawal, of course," Kelsey chirped. "Amount, $250,000. The smile froze, just slightly. The pen in Kelsey's hand paused, mid, "I'm sorry, how much?" $250,000, Amara enunciated, her voice even. A whisper escaped before Kelsey could contain it. "That's unusual." Her tone carried no overt insult, but the implication dripped clear. Amara had heard it too many times. Unusual meant unbelievable for someone like you. Amara slid her account card across the counter. "I'll also need it certified for a transaction this afternoon." Kelsey blinked, recovering her composure. "Right, may I see your ID?" Amara provided her driver's license. Kelsey studied it longer than necessary, glancing up as though searching for a flaw in Amara's face. "You'll need to wait just a moment," Kelsey said finally, forced cheer in her voice. She stood and leaned toward the teller beside her, whispering. Their eyes flicked toward Amara, then quickly away. Amara folded her hands, nails polished obsidian. She waited. Her patience wasn't passivity. It was armor. Kelsey returned. "I'll need to verify a few details. Do you mind answering some questions about your account?" Amara's eyes narrowed. "Is that policy for withdrawals of this size?" Kelsey hesitated. "It's recommended for fraud prevention." "Recommended," Amara repeated softly, tasting the word. "Or required?" Kelsey's smile wavered. "Recommended." Amara's voice cooled. "Then process the withdrawal." The teller shifted uncomfortably. "I'll just get the manager, of course." Always the manager. As Kelsey scurried off, Amara's gaze wandered across the lobby. A middle-aged white man deposited a stack of checks without pause. A younger white woman withdrew $50,000 with nothing more than a signature. No one stopped them. No one whispered, but Amara stood waiting. Her request treated as a crime scene. She had built empires, negotiated contracts with billionaires, signed paychecks for hundreds of employees. Yet here she was, standing under the suspicion of a 23-year-old teller whose glass smile had cracked into distrust. Her phone buzzed in her purse. A text from her assistant. "Board call at 10. Don't be late." Amara inhaled slowly. She would not be late. A door opened. Out stepped Mr. Whitmore, the branch manager. His suit was pressed but outdated, tie slightly askew. He wore the polished grin of authority, rehearsed, practiced, empty. "Kelsey tells me you'd like to make a rather large withdrawal," he said, extending his hand. His tone dripped with feigned warmth, but his eyes measured Amara like a threat. Amara shook his hand with a grip firm enough to remind him she wasn't here to be measured. "Yes," she said evenly. $250,000. Certified. Whitmore chuckled lightly, as if she'd told a joke she didn't realize. That's quite a sum. May I ask what it's for? Her jaw tightened. Does your policy require customers to disclose that? He tilted his head, feigning innocence. Not exactly, but large withdrawals raise red flag. We have to be cautious. Caution is one thing, Amara replied, her voice low but sharp. Suspicion is another. Whitmore smiled again, glassier than Celsius. I'll just need to verify a few details before approving this. Behind them, customers pretended not to watch, but eyes darted, whispers spread. A black woman, that much money, suspicious. Amara straightened her posture, every inch the CEO she was. Her patience was thinning, but her dignity remained intact. Verified quickly, she said. I have a meeting. Whitmore nodded, already signaling to another teller. It won't take long. But Amara knew better. It would take exactly as long as they wanted her humiliation to last. And so the battle began, not over money, but over dignity. Whitmore motioned for Amara to step aside into the small consultation area, a glass cubicle near the back of the lobby. The walls were meant for privacy, but in reality, they were transparent enough for every curious eye to watch. Please, Miss Johnson, have a seat, he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. Amara sat without hesitation, crossing one leg over the other, her gaze never breaking from his. I'll be brief. $250,000, certified check. Nothing more, nothing less. Whitmore smiled, the kind of smile corporate managers practiced in mirrors. Of course, but you understand why we need to exercise caution. Transactions of this size are highly unusual. Her brow arched. Unusual, for whom? He blinked. For most customers. You mean customers like me? I didn't say that. His smile twitched. You didn't have to. For the first time, the mask cracked. Whitmore cleared his throat, glancing down at the screen in front of him. Let's confirm some details. Your account number is correct, but for verification purposes, can you tell me your date of birth? Amara answered. And the last deposit amount? She answered again, her tone clipped. Whitmore leaned back, tapping his pen against the desk. And what business are you in, Miss Johnson? Amara tilted her head. Are you conducting a financial transaction or an interrogation? I assure you, it's just protocol. Her eyes flicked toward the glass wall. Customers were stealing glances, whispering. A mother pulled her child closer, as though danger sat only on Amara's side of the glass. Protocol, Amara said evenly, is consistent. Tell me, Mr. Whitmore, do you ask the same questions to every client withdrawing large sums, or only when their skin is a shade darker than yours? His face reddened, but his smile held. That's not a fair accusation. No, Amara replied softly, leaning forward. What's not fair is being treated like a criminal in a bank I helped build. Whitmore stiffened, ignoring the words. Until we get clearance from corporate, I'm afraid I can't authorize the withdrawal. Her jaw tightened. Clearance? Yes, large, unusual withdrawals trigger an internal review. It may take a few hours, or possibly until tomorrow. Tomorrow. Her voice was sharp now. My transaction is today. You know very well these delays are discretionary. Whitmore's smile finally faltered, his lips pressing into a thin line. Ma'am, I'm only following procedure. Procedure you invented 5 minutes ago, she shot back. There was a silence, thick as the glass around them. Amara placed her hands flat on the desk. Do you know what humiliation feels like, Mr. Whitmore? To be questioned, doubted, second-guessed, not because of what you've done, but because of what you look like, because I know, I've lived it. His eyes darted toward the lobby, as if hoping someone might interrupt. No one did. You will process my withdrawal, Amara said, her voice like steel wrapped in velvet. And you will do it now. Whitmore leaned back, the chair squeaking under his weight. He exhaled slowly, regaining his corporate tone. I'm afraid my hands are tied. It's for your protection, as well as ours. Imagine if someone compromised your account. Amara laughed bitterly. Compromised? The only compromise happening here is my dignity. The door to the cubicle creaked open. Kelsey poked her head in. Mr. Whitmore, security is waiting. Should I? Whitmore nodded. Yes, have them on standby. Amara turned slowly, her eyes narrowing. Security? For what? Whitmore clasped his hands together on the desk. It's standard when large sums are in question. Just a precaution. Her voice was low, dangerous. A black woman asks for her own money, and you call security. That's not precaution. That's prejudice. Whitmore opened his mouth, but no words came. For the first time, his smile vanished completely. On the other side of the glass, customers were staring openly now. Some had their phones out, recording. Amara rose from her chair, standing tall over the desk. You think power is in this little office, but power, Mr. Whitmore, is knowing the truth and making sure the world sees it. Whitmore swallowed hard, his throat bobbing. I need corporate authorization. Until then, your account will remain frozen. The word hung heavy in the air. Frozen. Amara stared at him, her silence more cutting than any outburst. Finally, she whispered, "You'll regret this." And as she walked back into the lobby, every eye followed her, not with suspicion now, but with anticipation. Something was about to break. The hum of the bank lobby had shifted. Where once there was the polite shuffle of forms and the clicking of pens, now there was a heavy silence laced with whispers. She tried to pull out one customer murmured, 250,000. No way. Security's here already. That says it all. Amara stood near the center of the lobby, her arms folded, her expression calm but her blood burning. Every whisper was another chain fastened around her. Every sideways glance a reminder of what they thought she could not be. 2 uniformed guards stood by the entrance. One was white, broad-shouldered, his hand grazing the radio clipped to his belt. The other was black, younger, his eyes avoiding Amara's, as if shame itself weighed down his gaze. Whitmore hadn't emerged from his office. He didn't need to. His decision had already cast its shadow. Kelsey returned to her station, pretending to type, though her hands trembled. She didn't look at Amara either. A woman in a gray blazer leaned toward another customer. Honestly, what did she expect? Walking in here like that, demanding all that money, like that? The man asked. You know what I mean? She whispered. Amara heard it. She always heard it. Her phone vibrated in her purse again. She checked the screen. 10:07 a.m., missed call. Assistant, board waiting. Where are you? The irony twisted inside her. She was late for a board meeting of the very bank holding her hostage. She dialed back quickly, pressing the phone to her ear. Her assistant's voice burst through. Anxious, Amara. The directors are asking. I'm aware, Amara said, her voice low, steady. Tell them I'll be delayed. Circumstances here require my attention. But tell them, she repeated. Now. She hung up, slipping the phone back into her bag. The lobby's air felt thicker, as though the marble and brass were closing in. The black security guard finally approached. His steps were slow, uncertain. Ma'am, he said quietly, the manager asked us to stay close. Stay close, Amara echoed, her tone flat. To protect who? Me or them? The guard's eyes flicked down. Just doing my job. Her voice softened, but only slightly. I know, but sometimes doing the job means standing in the wrong place. He swallowed hard, retreating a step. His silence said what his lips could not. Across the lobby, a young Latino man with a backpack whispered loudly enough to be heard. She's not wrong. They didn't ask me a thing when I pulled 10 grand last week. Not a single question. A white man in a suit beside him scoffed. 10 grand isn't 250. Let's be real. Let's be real, the young man shot back. If she were white, they'd have already printed the check. The tension crackled like static electricity. Some nodded in agreement. Others tightened their lips, unwilling to choose a side. Amara stood silent, letting the voices swirl. The lobby had become a theater, and every person inside was part of the performance. Prejudice, denial, fear, defiance. Finally, she spoke, her voice carrying like a bell through the marble chamber. Every whisper in this room, she said, is a verdict before trial. You don't need to see evidence. You already decided what's possible for me. All eyes turned to her. Some looked ashamed, others defensive. She raised her chin, gaze sweeping the room. This isn't about money. It's about power, and the lies you tell yourselves about who deserves it. The guards shifted uncomfortably. Kelsey's typing stopped mid. Even Whitmore, peering from his glass cubicle, froze. Amara's words didn't just hang in the air. They lodged there, undeniable. Her phone buzzed again. A final reminder. Board call, 10:15. Amara exhaled slowly, steel in her veins. They thought they were freezing her account, but what they didn't know was that they were already burning their own bridges. The lobby was no longer just a bank. It had become a stage, and the curtain was only beginning to rise. Whitmore finally emerged from his office, clutching a thin folder like it was a shield. His polished shoes clicked against the marble as he crossed the lobby. his face carefully composed in that same managerial smile. But the twitch at the corner of his lips betrayed him. "Ms. Johnson," he announced, loud enough for the lobby to hear, "thank you for your patience. After reviewing your request, I've decided to place a temporary freeze on your account, pending a fraud review." The words dropped like stones into water. Gasps rippled across the room. Amara stood still, her arms at her sides, her eyes narrowing. "A freeze," she repeated slowly. "On my account." "Yes," Whitmore said, forcing authority into his voice. "It's an internal safeguard. We need to ensure the funds are legitimate and that your request complies with policy." Amara's voice was calm, deliberate. "Are you suggesting the money in my account, the money I deposited, earned, and grew, is illegitimate?" "It's not personal," he said quickly. "It's just a matter of policy." Her laugh was sharp, humorless. "Policy? Show me the clause that says you can freeze a customer's account without cause." Whitmore hesitated. "Well, in cases of suspicious activity," her words cut through his excuse. "Suspicious? Would you use that word if I were a white man in a tailored suit?" The lobby hushed. Silence wrapped itself around every customer, every teller, every guard. Whitmore's mouth opened, then closed. He adjusted his tie, his eyes darting anywhere but hers. "This isn't about race." "No," Amara said, her voice like steel. "It's always about race. You just don't say it out loud." The young Latino man who had spoken earlier muttered, "She's right." His voice carried, and others nodded. Amara stepped closer, her heels striking the marble like gavel blows. "Do you have any idea how many times I've been asked to prove myself? To show documents no one else has asked for, to justify my presence, my success, my right to stand where I stand? Do you?" Whitmore swallowed hard. "Ms. Johnson, I need you to calm down." Her eyes flashed. "Calm down. You humiliate me in front of strangers. You accuse me of fraud without evidence, and you want calm." "No, Mr. Whitmore. You will not silence me with that tone." Someone in the back whispered, "She's not wrong." Kelsey fidgeted behind her counter, her face pale. The guards shifted, unsure whether they were meant to step forward or stay still. Amara drew in a slow breath, her composure returning like armor sliding back into place. She lowered her voice, but every syllable was weighted. "You want legitimacy. Look around. Do you see the portrait above your desk? The woman framed in gold?" Whitmore blinked, confused. He turned his head toward the far wall. There, just above the teller stations, hung the official corporate portrait of the CEO of First Dominion Bank. It was Amara. The room seemed to exhale at once. Kelsey's mouth fell open. The guards froze midst a hush so deep, pressed down that the hum of the chandelier lights could be heard. "Yes," Amara said, her voice steady, filling the silence. "That's me. I am the CEO of this bank, majority shareholder, the reason your paycheck clears, the reason these doors even open." Gasps rippled again. A man near the door muttered, "No way," while a woman whispered, "That's her." Whitmore's composure shattered. He stammered, words colliding on his tongue. I wasn't aware." "You," Amara cut him off. "You knew enough to judge me, to doubt me, to parade your prejudice under the mask of policy, and now you know who I am." Her voice dropped lower, colder. "Tell me, Mr. Whitmore, who is suspicious now?" The lobby was still, the weight of her revelation pressing down on every person present. Phones were raised higher, recording every second. Whitmore's smile was gone, stripped bare. He looked small now, cornered in the very office he thought was his domain. Amara stood tall, her presence towering, her truth undeniable. And for the first time, the bank itself seemed to know it too. The silence in the bank was suffocating. Even the ticking clock above the entrance seemed hesitant to move forward, as if time itself was holding its breath. Whitmore's mouth worked, but no words came. Kelsey clutched the edge of her counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The guards looked at one another, unsure if they should stay at attention or melt into the marble floor. Amara stood in the center of it all, her gaze steady. "What's wrong?" she asked softly. "Cat got your tongue. Or is the truth too heavy to carry?" Whitmore stammered. I didn't realize what?" Amara's tone was sharp, slicing through the stillness. "Didn't realize the woman you humiliated, doubted, and accused of fraud is the very person whose signature approves your salary." Whitmore's face flushed crimson. "Ms. Johnson, I assure you, this was never personal." Amara's laughter rang out, brittle and bitter. "Never personal. Every time I walk into a room and watch suspicion bloom across faces before I speak, it is always personal." Her eyes swept the lobby. Do you know what it takes to sit where I sit, to build what I've built? Nights spent in boardrooms where my words were ignored until repeated by men who looked different, investors who asked if I was the assistant, competitors who smirked when I walked in, only to choke when I walked out owning their contracts. Her voice dropped, low and weighted, and still, here I am, still forced to prove myself, even in my own house. The black security guard shifted uncomfortably, his lips parted, then closed. The shame on his face was clear. Amara's eyes softened for a moment as they fell on him. I know the bind you're in, she said gently. We've all worn chains that weren't ours to carry, but silence can be as heavy as iron. Don't forget that. He looked away, his jaw tight, his silence louder than any apology. Whitmore, desperate now, straightened his posture. Even if you are, he stumbled over the words, the CEO. I still must ensure all procedures are followed. Appearances matter. Amara stepped closer, her heels clicking like a countdown. Appearances? You mean the appearance of authority you thought you had, the appearance of control you believed your title gave you over me? Her voice sharpened. Tell me, Whitmore, would you have frozen the account of the white man who withdrew 100,000 last week, or the woman in pearls who just left with 50,000 cash? He faltered, blinking rapidly. That's different. No, Amara snapped. It's the same. The only difference is me. Gasps murmured through the lobby. The customers shifted, recording every word with their phones. Amara turned toward the wall, raising her hand to the golden frame that hung above the counters. Her portrait stared back, dignified, confident, unyielding. There I am, she said, her voice almost tender. Your bank's leader, the face you walk past every day, the one you ignored when she stood right in front of you. Kelsey whispered, barely audible. It can't be. Amara's gaze cut toward her. But it is. You saw my face every day when you logged into your terminal, yet you still doubted me. Because portraits are safe, people are not. The teller swallowed hard, her cheeks flushed with guilt. Amara turned back to Whitmore. You wanted proof. There it is. And yet, I know even now, some part of you doesn't want to believe it. Whitmore's jaw clenched. It's hard to reconcile. Of course it is, she said, because my existence shatters the story you tell yourself about power, about worth, about who belongs. I am the truth you can't unsee. The weight of her words settled over the room. Even those who had doubted her earlier now shifted uneasily. Ashamed of their silence, Amara inhaled deeply, her voice softening, but not weakening. I am tired of proving myself to people who will never believe, no matter the evidence. Tired of justifying my presence in places I built. Tired of carrying the burden of your disbelief. She looked Whitmore in the eye, unwavering. I don't need you to accept me. I need you to recognize the damage you've done. The room remained hushed. The weight of her presence, her truth, pressed against every wall, every breath. For the first time in his career, Whitmore had no mask left to wear. And for the first time in hers, Amara refused to carry the silence of others. Whitmore fumbled for his phone, his hands trembling as he dialed a number with sweaty fingers. The lobby remained hushed, every eye fixed on him and Amara. The glow of recording phones lit the air like constellations. Yes, this is Whitmore at the downtown branch, he said, his voice strained. We have a situation. A client is attempting to withdraw $250,000, and Amara's voice cut through, cold and firm. Not a client. Your CEO. Her words, carried across the lobby, caught by every microphone, every lens. On the other end of Whitmore's call, muffled words spilled out. His face paled. Yes, she claims she's that buff. Well, I wasn't aware. Amara pulled her own phone from her bag and tapped speed dial. She turned her back on Whitmore, but her voice rang clear enough for the room to hear. Good morning, Grace, she said into the receiver. Patch me into the board immediately. There was a pause. Then, respectful urgency. Of course, Ms. Johnson. One moment. Whitmore's voice rose nervously as he tried to talk over her. Yes, I understand, but surely corporate policy requires. From Amara's phone came a crisp, authoritative voice. This is the board chair. Amara, we're in the middle of the call. You were scheduled for. Are you all right? She faced the lobby now, her voice amplified by the speaker. No, Chairman. I am standing in my own bank, being denied access to my own funds by my own employee. He froze my account, accused me of suspicious activity. A murmur ran through the customers, phones tilted higher. The chairman's voice sharpened. Is this true? Put him on. Amara extended her hand toward Whitmore. The board would like to speak with you. He hesitated, frozen in shame, until the weight of silence forced him forward. He took her phone as though it burned in his palm. Hello. Yes, this is Whitmore. Yes, she came in requesting a large withdrawal, and I wasn't aware. No, I didn't recognize her. Yes, I froze the account. The chairman's voice thundered, audible to everyone. You froze the CEO's account. Whitmore winced. I thought it was procedure. The chairman snapped. The procedure is to know your leadership. The procedure is to treat every client with dignity. You have failed on both counts. Whitmore stammered. I didn't mean you'll hear from HR within the hour. The chairman said coldly. Now, hand the phone back. Whitmore returned the phone with shaking hands. Amara held it calmly, her face unreadable. Thank you, Chairman. Please note, this isn't just about me. This is about the culture you allow to thrive in your branches. We'll be discussing it at the board. The chairman's voice softened. We will, Amara. And for the record, you have our full support. She ended the call. The silence in the lobby deepened, weighted now, not with suspicion, but with awe. Whitmore slumped back, sweat glistening on his forehead. His practiced authority had crumbled. The teller Kelsey stared at him, horrified, as if watching her mentor unravel. Amara turned, her eyes sweeping the room. Understand this. One confirmation from the top doesn't erase what was done here. It doesn't undo the humiliation, the assumptions, the prejudice. For too many, there is no boardroom call to prove their worth. They leave empty-handed, carrying scars you never see. Her words struck deeper than any punishment. Customers lowered their phones, shame mingling with respect. Even the guards shifted uncomfortably, their posture less rigid now. Amara slipped her phone back into her bag, her expression calm once again. Now, she said, her voice steady, process my withdrawal. No one dared to argue. Whitmore's hands shook as he dabbed his forehead with a crumpled handkerchief. The customers hadn't dispersed. If anything, the crowd had grown thicker. Phones hovered, recording every tremor in his voice, every crack in his mask. I want to apologize, Ms. Johnson, he stammered. It was a misunderstanding. I didn't recognize you, and I was simply trying to follow policy. Amara's eyes narrowed. You think this is about recognition? You think the insult disappears if I'm not who I am? What if I were any other black woman walking in today? What if she didn't have the title, the power, the portrait on the wall? Would you still call security? Still freeze the account? Whitmore flinched, unable to answer. The young Latino customer stepped forward, emboldened. He would have. We all saw it. Others murmured agreement. Some customers called out directly. She didn't raise her voice until you pushed her. You judged her the second she walked in. This is why people don't trust banks. Whitmore tried to hold up his hands, placating. Please, let's remain calm. There's no need to turn this into a spectacle. Amara's voice, cut like glass. It already is. You turned it into one the moment you doubted me louder than you served me. Kelsey, pale and shaken, finally spoke. Mr. Whitmore, maybe we overstepped. She gave her ID. Everything matched. We didn't have to. Whitmore snapped his head toward her. Kelsey, not now. But Amara interjected, her gaze fixed on the teller. No, speak, say what you're afraid to say. Kelsey's lips trembled. I think we treated you differently. I didn't mean to, but I see it now. The whispers, the stares. It wasn't right. Her voice cracked, but her admission hung in the air. Undeniable, Amara's expression softened, but only slightly. Silence is consent. Kelsey, you saw, you felt, yet you stayed quiet until the tide turned. Kelsey lowered her head, tears brimming. Whitmore's desperation grew. Please, Miss Johnson, if we could move past this. Amara's voice rose, not with shouting, but with weight. You want to bury it under paperwork and polite apologies. No, you don't get to skip to the ending. You will sit in this moment. You will feel it burn. The customers nodded, murmuring, yes, exactly, their voices swelling like a jury delivering its verdict. Amara turned slightly, addressing not just Whitmore but everyone. Understand something. I can stand here because I have power, because I have proof. But how many walk into this same lobby with no armor but their dignity? How many are turned away, shamed, silenced? Their stories vanish, but the wound remains. Her voice dropped lower, resonant. Today, it was me. Tomorrow, it's someone else. And unless you face it, nothing changes. The black security guard, who had remained silent, finally spoke. His voice was low, thick with conflict. She's right. I've seen it before. Too many times, people treated different, watched harder, questioned longer. His partner turned sharply, whispering, "Don't get involved." But the guard stood taller now, his voice firmer. "No, I'm done standing in the wrong place." The room stilled again. His words broke something open, the wall of complicity cracking under truth. Amara's eyes met his. A silent acknowledgement passed between them. Whitmore's voice wavered. "Ms. Johnson, I beg you. My career, your career." Amara's tone sliced the air. "What about the careers ended because of bias? The loans denied, the businesses strangled before they could breathe. You fear losing your title. We fear losing our futures." His hands trembled, palms open in a gesture of surrender. I didn't mean for this, but you did it," Amara cut in. "That is the point." The customers erupted then, their voices layering. "She's right. Unacceptable. This needs to go public." Phones zoomed in, live stream comments scrolled. The spectacle Whitmore wanted to avoid had become his undoing. Amara's presence filled the lobby like thunder. Her voice carried not just authority, but inevitability. "You wanted to make me small in front of strangers. But look around, Whitmore. The mask is shattered. They see you now." He slumped, his practiced charm dissolved into desperation. And Amara stood taller, not because she needed to prove herself, but because the truth had already done it for her. The lobby buzzed like a beehive, thick with voices, phones raised, eyes hungry for justice. Whitmore stood wilted behind the counter, his once practiced confidence eroded to ash. Amara leaned forward, her voice deliberate. "I asked for a withdrawal, not just of money, but of truth. Today, I take both." Whitmore swallowed. "Please, let's resolve this quietly. I'll process the funds immediately." She shook her head. "You'll do it, yes, but quietly." "No, this will not vanish into silence." The security guard, the one who had spoken up earlier, stepped closer, his chest broad, his voice carrying authority. "It's time, Whitmore. Do your job." Shaking, Whitmore fumbled with the terminal, the machine word, printing receipt after receipt as he keyed in numbers. He stacked bills into neat bundles, his hands betraying his fear with every tremor. Amara's eyes never left him. "Do you feel it now? The weight of every bill you count, that weight has crushed countless others you dismissed. Remember it." He placed the cash inside a sleek leather envelope. His voice cracked. Here is your withdrawal, Ms. Johnson." She didn't move to take it, not yet. Her gaze swept the room, catching the eyes of the recording crowd. "This isn't about the money. This is about respect, about power wrongly seized, and dignity wrongly denied. Today, I reclaim both." The crowd murmured, a ripple of agreement. Amara finally extended her hand, lifting the envelope with grace, as though it weighed more than paper and ink. She tucked it into her bag, then looked back at Whitmore. "You tried to strip me of power in front of strangers, but power isn't yours to give or deny. Power is truth, and truth has a way of finding daylight." Whitmore's lips parted, but no words came. His silence was louder than any apology. Suddenly, one customer spoke up, a young woman near the front. "We're posting this. The world needs to see." Another voice followed. "They'll know what you did." A dozen phones uploaded clips at once, the internet's current moving faster than fear. Whitmore turned pale. "Please, Ms. Johnson, this will ruin me." Amara's expression was unreadable. "Ruination isn't mine to give. It's yours, already written in your choices." Behind them, the chairman's voice boomed again, this time from the speakerphone Amara had left open on the counter. "Mr. Whitmore," the chairman said, his tone frigid, effective immediately. "You are suspended pending formal review. Security will escort you from the premises." The guard who had spoken earlier stepped forward. "With pleasure." Whitmore stammered. "No, please." But his words dissolved as the guard placed a firm hand on his arm. The crowd's cameras caught every second, the walk of shame, the fallen mask, the hollow eyes of a man whose prejudice had cost him everything. Kelsey the teller wept quietly behind the counter, whispering to Amara as Whitmore was led away, "I'm sorry, truly, I see it now. I'll do better." Amara's gaze softened, though her tone remained steady. "Then start today. Speak when silence tempts you. That is how change begins." Kelsey nodded through tears, as Whitmore disappeared through the glass doors. The lobby exhaled, a collective release of tension. The customers lowered their phones, some smiling, some still shaken. The young Latino man who had spoken earlier approached cautiously. "Thank you for not backing down. People like me, we need to see someone fight back." Amara gave him a small, firm nod. Don't just watch, stand. Next time, it may be your turn. He swallowed hard, but nodded back. I will. Amara turned, walking toward the exit with the calm poise of a woman who had nothing left to prove. The cameras followed her every step, but she didn't perform for them. She carried herself as if the world's gaze was no heavier than her own resolve. As she pushed through the glass doors, sunlight poured over her, warm and unyielding. The city outside moved as if nothing had happened. Traffic honked, footsteps hurried, but inside the lobby, history had been written in real time. The poetic justice lingered. Whitmore, stripped not just of position, but of illusion. Kelsey, confronted by her own silence, forced to reckon with complicity. The customers, witnesses to prejudice unraveling before their eyes. And Amara, withdrawing more than cash, withdrawing power from the hands of those unworthy to hold it. The narration settled like a verdict. Racism hides in procedure, in tone, in doubt. But when confronted, when dragged into the light, it withers. Today, justice wasn't signed in ink. It was spoken, recorded, seen, and it cannot be erased. Amara's phone buzzed. A text from Grace, her assistant. It's everywhere already. The clip is viral. Millions of views. Headlines calling you the CEO who owned her own bank and her racist manager. Amara's lips curved, not into a smile, but into something fiercer. A promise, she whispered under her breath, so soft it was almost for herself alone. Let them watch. Let them learn. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. And with that, she walked into the sunlight, stronger than when she entered, carrying not just her withdrawal, but the world's awakening. The next morning, the city awoke not to headlines about politics or markets, but to the face of Amara Johnson. On every news feed, every trending hashtag, every timeline, the video blazed. Black CEO denied access to her own bank. Clips showed Whitmore's stammering disbelief. Amara's ice-edge declaration, I own this bank. The internet latched onto it instantly. Memes, think pieces, commentaries, morning talk shows replayed the footage frame by frame. At headquarters, Grace's voice trembled as she briefed Amara over speakerphone. Ms. Johnson, CNN wants an interview. MSNBC too, even the BBC. They're calling you a symbol of resistance, of justice. Amara sat at her office window, gazing down at the glass towers of downtown. Her voice was measured, and Whitmore. Grace hesitated. The video ruined him. He's trending too. Hashtag Whitmore. Walk of Shame. Single quotes his LinkedIn. His history people are digging. Old employees are sharing stories. Claims of discrimination. Loans denied. Promotions blocked. It's unraveling. Amara exhaled. Not satisfaction, not triumph, something heavier. Truth has a way of surfacing, always. Grace continued. The board issued a statement this morning. Full support of you. Zero tolerance for discrimination. They've scheduled an emergency press conference. They want you to lead it. Silence stretched for a beat. Then Amara said softly, Good. We don't bury wounds. We clean them. Across the city, Whitmore sat hunched in his living room. Blinds drawn, TV flickering, his downfall on repeat. Black CEO denied by her own manager, bank leader, humiliated in lobby. Systemic racism caught on camera. Commentators ripped into him. He didn't just make a mistake, he revealed a culture. This wasn't an accident, this was a pattern. His phone buzzed relentlessly. Emails from HR, termination notices, old colleagues cutting ties. His face was plastered across the internet like a mugshot, each replay eroding the last fragments of his pride. Whitmore groaned, clutching his head. It was procedure. I was just doing procedure. But the echo of Amara's words haunted him. Power isn't yours to give or deny. Power is truth. He realized the truth had already left his control. At the bank's headquarters, the press room overflowed. Reporters packed shoulder to shoulder. Cameras perched like watchful birds. Amara stepped onto the stage in a tailored navy suit, her posture unyielding. Flashbulbs erupted. A reporter shouted, Ms. Johnson, what do you say to those who claim this was just a misunderstanding? Amara leaned into the microphone. A misunderstanding is forgetting someone's name. A misunderstanding is misplacing paperwork. What happened was not a misunderstanding. It was systemic bias, executed under the mask of procedure, and I will not allow it to be swept aside. Another reporter. How do you respond to the viral reaction? Millions are calling you a hero. Her voice was steady. I am not a hero. I am proof. Proof that racism does not ask for permission. Proof that no title, no power, no wealth shields you from prejudice. If it can happen to me, what chance does a single mother, a small business owner, a young dreamer have when they walk into a bank? The room fell silent, her words slicing through the hum of cameras. Amara continued, her voice resonant. This is not about me alone. This is about every person denied dignity in silence. Today, silence ends. The crowd erupted in applause. Not typical for a press conference, but this was no typical moment. Online, the speech spread like fire. Comments flooded. She spoke for all of us. Finally, someone with power saying the truth out loud. Systemic racism exposed. Live. Communities rallied. Civil rights groups called for policy reforms. Hashtags turned into petitions. What had started as one confrontation in a marble lobby had become a movement. Back at her office, Amara stood before the tall glass window again. Grace entered, holding a tablet glowing with news alerts. You've started something, Ms. Johnson. People aren't just talking, they're demanding change. Banks across the country are reviewing their policies. Amara didn't smile, she only nodded. Good, let the reckoning spread. Grace hesitated, then asked, Do you feel vindicated? Amara turned, her eyes steady but weary. Vindication is for victories. This was survival. The fight isn't over. It never was. She walked back to her desk, the city skyline burning in the late afternoon light. The reckoning had begun, but it wasn't hers alone to carry. It belonged to everyone who had ever been silenced, doubted, diminished, and now the world had seen it. There was no going back. The storm hadn't passed, it had only shifted skies. Days after the press conference, Amara's face lingered everywhere. Op-eds, podcasts, late-night television. Her confrontation had grown larger than one bank, larger than one man. It was now a mirror held to the nation. But Amara herself remained calm, not celebratory, not basking in praise. Her voice, in private meetings, remained the same, sharp, deliberate, unrelenting. This is not about me, she told the boardroom packed with executives. This is about culture. We don't just punish one man and move on. We restructure, we reform, we lead, or we fail. Some executives shifted uncomfortably, reluctant to surrender their quiet privileges. One finally asked, Do you really believe people will remember this beyond the news cycle? Amara's gaze pinned him. They already have, because I will not let them forget. Silence fell, her authority unquestionable. Outside corporate walls, the ripple grew. Clips of the incident had been subtitled in multiple languages. In Johannesburg, activists replayed it at rallies. In London, lawmakers cited it in debates on discrimination. In Atlanta, community leaders told teenagers, if she stood her ground, so can you. Letters poured into Amara's office, a handwritten note from a retired teacher in Alabama. For once, I didn't feel invisible. A message from a young entrepreneur. Your fight gave me courage to apply for my loan again. Amara read each one. She never dismissed them as flattery. She treated them as fuel. Meanwhile, Whitmore's world crumbled. His name had become shorthand for prejudice. Neighbors avoided him. Former colleagues turned away. Old decisions resurfaced. Discriminatory loan rejections, biased remarks during meetings. Each story surfaced online, layered into a portrait of arrogance and bigotry. Once, he had been a man of authority. Now, he was a cautionary tale. Reporters camped outside his home. The internet turned his stumble into an emblem. The manager who denied his own CEO, Whitmore, tried to defend himself, posting a statement online. I was following procedure. I did not act out of bias. But the replies were merciless. Procedure doesn't explain your smirk. Procedure doesn't freeze an account after verified ID. Procedure didn't stop you. Until the cameras rolled, his voice was drowned in a tide of truth. Back in Amara's office, Grace entered with the latest updates. Ms. Johnson, the Attorney General's office has reached out. They want to meet. They're considering new regulations for discriminatory practices in banking. Amara paused. Good. That's where the real fight lives. Not in hashtags but in policy. Grace hesitated. And the president's office called. They want you on an advisory panel. For the first time, a flicker of surprise crossed Amara's face. Then she nodded slowly. Tell them yes, but tell them this isn't about symbolism. If I sit at that table, I expect change. That evening, Amara walked home alone through the city streets. Neon lights reflected off wet pavement. Strangers passed her, some whispering, some stopping to nod in silent respect. At a crosswalk, a mother tugged her daughter's hand. The little girl, no older than 9, stared up at Amara with wide, reverent eyes. "Is that her, Mama?" she whispered. Double quotes. "Yes, baby," the mother said softly. "That's the lady who owns the bank." The girl smiled shyly, and in that moment, Amara felt the weight of all she carried, not just titles, not just money, but the fragile hopes of countless unseen lives. Later that night, Amara sat by her window, city lights flickering like constellations. She reflected aloud, her voice quiet, almost a prayer. "They tried to strip me of power, but power is not permission. Power is not a signature. Power is the refusal to bow when they press you to the ground." Her words were not for cameras, not for applause. They were for herself, and for the memory of those who had been silenced before her. The narration settled into finality, poetic and sharp. Systemic racism does not crumble in a single day. It cracks, piece by piece, under the weight of truth spoken aloud. One confrontation in a lobby became a mirror for millions, and though the struggle continues, the reckoning has begun. Whitmore's downfall was not revenge, it was consequence. Amara's triumph was not victory, it was survival. And survival, voiced in courage, becomes revolution. As dawn broke over the skyline, Amara whispered the words that had carried her all along: "Beyond the bank, beyond me, this fight belongs to us all." And with that, the story closed, not with an ending, but with a beginning that no one could erase.